Greetings to all the tennis fanatics tuning in from around the globe, especially those who live for a Cinderella story. Welcome to this breaking update. Today's coverage is not about breaking down a simple tournament draw or a routine match result. What we are unpacking today transcends mere world rankings or match statistics. We are immersing ourselves in a specific earth-shattering event that has sent tremors rippling through every corner of the tennis community. This singular occurrence has effectively turned the immaculate red dirt of Manacor into ground zero for a digital hurricane that is sweeping across the internet. Unless you have been living under a rock for the past 48 hours, there is virtually zero chance you missed this while scrolling through your timeline. You have undoubtedly caught the clips circulating everywhere. You have likely pored over the images already. The moment the Rafa Nadal Academy's official handles uploaded the content, the algorithm exploded within mere minutes, not hours. The engagement numbers shot straight into the stratosphere. We are witnessing a content phenomenon racking up millions upon millions of views, generating thousands of shares, and triggering a wave of reposts across every platform. This is all unfolding alongside a comment section that has gone absolutely berserk with speculation and hype. However, mark my words, labeling this merely a surprise is the greatest understatement of the century. What is playing out before our eyes is not simply a heartwarming reunion. It is a definitive graduation ceremony, and I am not referring to the traditional pomp and circumstance of gowns and mortarboards. We already witnessed those ceremonial formalities way back in 2023. No, this evolution represents a graduation from the status of a hopeful apprentice to that of a bona fide terrifying contender on the professional circuit. The trending footage centers squarely on the 20-year-old phenomenon from the Philippines, Alexandra Eala, who is currently riding the high of a history-making 2026 season. It was a campaign where she smashed her way into the top 50, completely dismantled heavy hitters at the Miami Open, and secured gold for Southeast Asia, all leading to this moment where she stands toe-to-toe with the king of clay, Rafael Nadal. To be fair, footage of Rafa trading shots with his academy pupils is not exactly a new phenomenon we haven't seen before. It serves as a traditional rite of passage within the academy walls. Typically, these sessions involve gentle rallies where the master patiently instructs the apprentice, tossing easy balls to a jittery youngster to help them find their rhythm. However, make no mistake, this session was worlds apart from those gentle lessons. The clip setting the internet ablaze showcases a ferocious intensity that has caught analysts and fans alike completely by surprise. We observe Eala unleashing massive, heavy forehands, dripping with topspin that mirror the legendary mechanics of the icon standing on the other side of the court. Across the net, Rafa is not merely going through the motions or engaging in a light warm-up. He is legitimately sprinting, scrambling to defend his territory against the onslaught. We witness the 22-time Grand Slam titan stopping in his tracks, hands on hips, gazing at this young athlete not with the condescension of an instructor, but with the genuine respect of a peer. While the caption accompanying the post modestly stated, "A memory that will last forever," the hidden meaning beneath that phrase roared a much more significant message to the tennis world. It loudly declared that the Academy's most successful export had returned to her training grounds not to review the fundamentals, but to demonstrate precisely the powerhouse she has become. So, what is the catalyst behind this viral explosion? Why does this particular practice session carry more weight than the countless others we scroll past annually? The answer lies entirely in the context. We are observing an athlete who only a few years prior arrived at the facility as a timid 12-year-old from the Philippines, a country that at the time had virtually no footprint in global tennis. She had to leave her parents and siblings thousands of miles away to pursue a seemingly impossible ambition. She walked away from the comfort of her home, sacrificing her formative years to toil daily on the Spanish clay, only to return now as a legitimate contender for Grand Slam glory. The online frenzy is fueled by the sheer poetry of the visuals the legendary master, in the final chapter of his career, facing off against the student ascending like a phoenix from the ashes. You see the images of them sharing a laugh juxtaposed with intense tactical debates at the net, where Rafa passionately explains a minute adjustment to the forehand mechanic. These snippets go beyond standard social media fare. They symbolize the literal and metaphorical passing of the torch from one generation to the next. Let's be honest about the shock factor here. The academy directors, the elite coaching staff, and Rafa himself were fully aware of her capabilities. After all, they were the architects of her game. Yet no one anticipated the absolute ferocity and power she unleashed upon her return to Manacor this winter. This was not a social call to exchange pleasantries. She arrived with a business mindset showcasing shot velocity, court coverage, and mental toughness that has reached an entirely new tier. It is undeniably clear that the 2026 season transformed her. Defeating Iga Swiatek in Miami altered her trajectory. Cracking the top 50 redefined her confidence. The clip is trending because it validates the entire journey and proves the Academy's system is effective. More significantly, it broadcasts a stern warning to every other player on the WTA Tour. Alex Eala has finished her waiting period. She is no longer merely a prospect. She is prepared to dominate the global stage, so everyone better fasten their seatbelts. We are about to dissect this footage frame by frame to uncover the technical nuances and real-time adjustments Rafa was imparting to her. We will revisit the absolutely wild 2026 season that paved the way for this pivotal moment in time. From the emotional breakdown in Eastbourne to the monumental victory in Miami and the historic streak, we will examine the statistics, the mental game, and where she goes from here. This is the comprehensive analysis you have been craving, the narrative of how Alexandra Eala stunned the Academy, impressed the King of Clay, and served notice to the entire tennis world. Let's dive straight into the action, starting with the primary evidence that sparked this discussion. The video that ignited this whole debate was uploaded late in the European evening, masquerading as a routine training montage. However, the true story lies in the details, and the first element that grabs your attention is the acoustics. If you shut your eyes and focus solely on the raw audio, the impact sound of the ball leaving Eala's racket is distinctively different from 2 years prior. The tone is heavier, resonating deeper. The footage reveals Eala exchanging earth-shattering cross-court forehands with Nadal. For those unfamiliar with the sport's nuances, rallying against Rafael Nadal on clay is comparable to boxing Mike Tyson in a telephone booth, brutal and suffocating. The sheer revolutions per minute he generates typically kick the ball well above shoulder level, making it a nightmare for smaller players to tame. Yet, pay close attention to Eala's positioning. She refuses to retreat, and this specific tactical choice is the massive revelation alluded to in the title. In years past, training clips from the RNA depicted her standing 2 or 3 meters behind the line, merely absorbing the speed. In this viral sensation, she is fearlessly anchoring herself right on the baseline. Take a close look at this incredible footage. Notice how she is practically suffocating the baseline. Taking the ball on the rise, the split second it leaves the surface to dictate the rally's rhythm. She is maximizing that wicked high-kicking lefty spin that makes her style of play so exceptionally difficult to defend against. You have to remember that she plays the game as a southpaw, effectively mirroring Rafa's legendary geometry to dismantle cross-court exchanges. There is a critical moment exactly 15 seconds into the clip where the King of Clay fires a heavy, looping forehand deep into her backhand wing. But rather than backing off or playing defensive, she steps boldly inside the paint, cuts off the angle and blasts a laser-guided winner down the line that leaves the 22-time Grand Slam champion completely rooted to the spot. The camera immediately pans over to the Spaniard to catch his reaction. He stops dead in his tracks. A slow, appreciative nod follows, and then a wide, genuine smile breaks out. That single nod of respect is worth more than 1,000 hours of paid coaching sessions. That right there is the ultimate stamp of approval from the master of the sport. The video then cuts to a fascinating discussion at the net, a scene that has set the entire tennis internet on fire with speculation and hype. We can see Rafa energetically breaking down the mechanics. He is physically modeling a specific follow-through arc and stressing the absolute necessity of explosive hip rotation through the point of contact. Eala later confirmed in a media update that the legend was indeed tweaking her forehand technique. But to really grasp why this matters, we have to break down the technical reasons necessitating this intervention. Her forehand has always been her bread and butter, a heavy whip-like shot that draws comparisons to Nadal's own trademark weapon. However, during the roller coaster ride of the 2026 season, particularly in those gut-wrenching Grand Slam losses, we saw that side break down under pressure. When the tension of the tour got too high, her shot selection tended to flatten out, losing the heavy revolutions required to keep the ball safely within the lines. Rafa, spotting this flaw, likely stepped in to help her reclaim that vital margin for error, injecting that extra 10% of topspin that serves as an insurance policy when your nerves are completely frayed in a deciding tiebreak. The photos released alongside this training video reveal an even more compelling narrative. One image shows them taking a breather on the bench towels draped over their shoulders, sharing a genuine moment of laughter. This relaxed, jovial vibe stands in a stark, beautiful contrast to the famously rigid military-grade discipline that usually characterizes the daily grind at the academy. It signals a massive shift in their relationship dynamic. She is no longer just another hopeful student. She has evolved into a colleague, a peer, and a legitimate top 50 threat on the tour. She has secured her spot on that bench through sheer grit and perspiration. The viral explosion of this update isn't just about being near a celebrity. It is about hard-won validation from the highest authority in tennis history. For the millions of Filipino fans watching, seeing their national hero treated as an equal by a tennis god brings an overwhelming wave of emotion and national pride. On the flip side, for tennis analysts and future rivals, this is the nightmare scenario. A young, hungry lefty shaped by Rafa now getting private tactical masterclasses from the man himself as she hits her prime. To fully understand why this reunion is so electric, we have to rewind the clock and analyze the context of her breakthrough campaign in 2026. That was the year the entire script got flipped. Coming into 2026, Alex was stuck outside the top 100, caught in that notoriously brutal transition zone between the challenger circuit and the main tour. She was clearly far too talented for the ITF level, yet she was struggling to string together consistent match wins on the big WTA stage. The whispers from the critics had started to grow louder. Was she just another junior prodigy destined to fizzle out? Did she lack the physical power? And then everything changed in Miami. The Miami Open of 2026 will go down in history as the Manicure miracle. Eala came into the main draw as a wildcard entry with the odds stacked heavily against her. In every single round, the betting markets had her listed as the underdog. But something clicked in her mentality. She dismantled Katie Volinets with a clinically solid professional display. She then shocked the tennis world by taking out Jelena Ostapenko, weathering the Latvian's blistering pace before knocking out Madison Keys, an American powerhouse playing in front of her home crowd. Then came the quarterfinals, a match that undoubtedly had Rafa Nadal glued to his TV screen back in Mallorca. Alexandra Eala versus the unstoppable force Iga Swiatek. The narrative leading up to the match was absolutely suffocating for the young underdog. Swiatek was the world number 2 at the time, a 5-time major winner, and ironically the guest speaker at Eala's high school graduation just 2 years prior, where she had tossed her cap next to Alex. Now the mentor figure and the graduate were on opposite sides of the net fighting for a spot in the semis. Eala didn't just survive, she completely rewrote the expected script. She played with zero inhibition, executing her tactical plan to perfection to secure a stunning 6-2, 7-5 triumph. With that win, she became the first Filipino athlete to ever beat a top 5 player and the first to reach the semifinals of a WTA 1000 event. Rafa immediately jumped on social media, writing, "We are extremely proud of you, Alex." He added, "What an incredible tournament. Let's keep dreaming." That digital pat on the back was the spark that ignited her confidence. But this new training video represents the fire that has been building since then. However, the 2026 season wasn't all sunshine. We have to talk about the heartbreak at Eastbourne. The devastating defeat to Maya Joint in the final is still a painful memory. Eala had championship points, the trophy was practically in her hands, and it slipped away in the most agonizing way possible. Watching the broadcast footage of her openly sobbing during the trophy ceremony was absolutely gut-wrenching. Yet remember who was the first person to publicly comfort her. It was Rafa, who posted a message promising that this was merely the first final of many finals. This context is key because the Academy has been there through the euphoric highs of Miami and the crushing lows of Eastbourne. So when she arrived back at the training grounds this winter, shocking the coaching team with her upgraded level of play, it wasn't just another practice block. It was the homecoming of a battle-tested warrior wearing the scars that prove her resilience. We also need to talk about the environment of the Rafa Nadal Academy itself. It is easy to watch this viral clip and just see 2 people hitting a ball. But you are looking at the product of a scientifically designed institution. Alex Eala moved to Spain when she was just 12 years old. Can you imagine the massive psychological weight that puts on a child? She left behind the tropical heat of the Philippines, her family's home cooking her parents and her entire culture to live in a dorm in Manicure, where the only standard is absolute perfection. This viral training moment is living proof of the Academy's brutal but effective philosophy. They don't just teach you how to strike a forehand, they teach you how to embrace suffering. Rafa's entire career has been built on the ability to endure more pain than the guy across the net. In the footage, pay close attention to Eala's footwork. Even when she is exhausted, she is making tiny, rapid adjustment steps. Chop, chop, chop. That specific movement pattern is the Academy's hallmark. That is the voice of Tony Nadal, echoing in her subconscious. It is the direct result of thousands of grueling hours of drills where failure simply wasn't an option. The Academy staff expressed genuine surprise this week, not because they doubted her talent, but because the speed of her improvement has skyrocketed past their projections. For most players, the jump from junior success to the top 50 takes 3 to 4 years of grinding. She is accelerating that timeline significantly. Alexandra Eala has pulled off a stunning evolution in her game, displaying clinical precision throughout a solid 18-month run of unbroken healthy competition. Beyond just her fitness, we have to talk about the tactical dominance that comes with being a lefty, because this specific training center has essentially written the book on how to weaponize that southpaw angle. Let's be honest, there is zero debate that Rafael Nadal stands alone as the greatest left-handed athlete to ever grace the court. However, take a look at Casper Ruud, another elite product of this exact machinery, who unleashes a forehand that is absolutely devastating in its weight and power. Eala is quickly emerging as the ideal female embodiment of this Academy's blueprint, a left-hander with a rock-solid two-handed backhand. Yet she controls the tempo of the match by dictating play with that fierce, explosive forehand wing. If you actually take the time to break down the practice tapes of her hitting right next to Rafa, the biomechanical parallels are so precise that they are almost uncanny to witness. From the ferocious snap of the wrist to that trademark buggy whip follow-through over the helmet, she has morphed into a virtual doppelganger of the King of Clay. But let's pivot for a second and analyze why this story went absolute supernova on social media. What was the catalyst that made this update explode? The secret ingredient is the Philippine audience. That nation arguably boasts the most digitally active and passionately supportive fan base anywhere on the globe. It seems like Alex could just sneeze in public and she would instantly trend across Manila. But this incident was unique. It shattered the local bubble and grabbed the undivided attention of the entire international tennis community. A massive driving force here is the deep nostalgia for Rafa. With the legend essentially stepped away from the spotlight and barely appearing on the tour calendar in 2026, just catching a glimpse of him on the clay, looking physically formidable and crushing the ball with authority, releases a massive wave of excitement for fans who are starving for his energy. Seeing him actively transferring his knowledge to Eala turns her into a living vessel for his legacy. It establishes an incredibly potent emotional bond for everyone watching. Fans are throwing their support behind her because they see a reflection of Rafa's fighting spirit in her game. It aligns perfectly with the next-gen storyline, particularly because the women's tour is currently saturated with flat, hard-hitting baseliners. Eala brings a refreshing stylistic contrast to the table. She is cerebral, she loads up the ball with heavy topspin, and she utilizes that lefty advantage. The tennis world is hungry for that specific brand of variety right now. You don't have to look far, just scroll through the video comments to gauge the reaction. You will see threads in Spanish, English, Tagalog, and French, all echoing the exact same sentiment. She moves and strikes the ball just like him. She is viewed as the chosen successor. Rafa looks on with the pride of a mentor and father figure. And let's be clear, this level of engagement is gold in the sports industry. It leads straight to lucrative sponsorship deals. It opens doors to prestigious wildcard entries. It ensures she gets scheduled on the show courts. By unveiling this level of play at the Academy and creating this viral storm, Eala has successfully catapulted her status from a local icon to a certified international superstar. As we start to conclude this comprehensive analysis, I want to invite you to pause and really examine that thumbnail image one more time. Look closely at the authentic joy on Rafael Nadal's face as he watches Alexandra Eala work. That picture represents something much deeper than a simple, candid snapshot. That image is a receipt. It validates every single lonely night she endured in a tiny dorm room thousands of miles away from her family and everything familiar. It is the payoff for every birthday she spent, apart every Christmas missed, and all the tears cried in isolation after tough defeats at small tournaments in remote places like Tunisia or Thailand. It is the validation for the massive risk her parents took when they sent their young daughter to the other side of the planet with nothing but her equipment and a massive ambition. The news cycles might suggest the Academy was shocked by her performance, but if you ask me, the only people caught off guard are the ones who haven't been watching closely. Alexandra Eala has been strategically crafting this breakthrough. A moment since the day she first held a racket, she has fully integrated the Rafa DNA into her game. She understands that suffering and grit are non-negotiable elements of this sport. She has learned the lesson well. Show respect to every opponent, but fear absolutely nobody. Not the world number one, and certainly not the weight of history. As we move forward through the rest of the 2026 season, make sure you keep your radar locked on Alexandra Eala. She is no longer just competing for herself. She steps onto the court with the stamp of approval from the king himself. She has the physical weapons, she has the psychological edge, and now she has the unstoppable momentum. The era of being a surprise underdog is finished. The reality has arrived, and the reality is that Alexandra Eala is gunning for every trophy on the tour. Thank you so much for tuning into this breaking news special. If you found value in this detailed report, please hit that subscribe button to stay updated. We are dedicated to covering every single step of Eala's 2026 journey right here on this platform. Until we meet again, keep your eyes on the ball.